It came on last year kind of out of nowhere. The Commanders, they had an incredible season last year, surprising everyone. No one saw that coming. And they lost to the Eagles, obviously, in the NFC Championship game. But Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin's chemistry was a big factor for the success. But the wide receiver, he's obviously in the middle of a hold-in and looking for a new deal. McLaurin is reportedly looking to land a $33 million a year deal in his next contract and wants a deal similar to DK Metcalf. Colin, do the Commanders and Terry McLaurin need to come to terms just for the sake of Jaden Daniels?
Well, you know, it's funny about this. I don't think Adam Peters in Washington should have to pay any player based on a mistake by another team. I thought the Steelers, DK Metcalf is the most penalized receiver since he entered the league. He can be a bit temperamental. He's a tremendous athlete, and I've met him and like him. But if you told me today I get McLaurin or DK Metcalf for 3 years, I would actually take Terry McLaurin.
100%.
Because he fits, it's low maintenance, he's got great hands, I think he runs a greater route tree. I would take Terry McLaurin. So that's always been an interesting thing to me. Fox shouldn't have to pay me what somebody else at another company makes if they view the contract as unrealistic. Now, that's certainly going to be their argument, but I've always understood that for teams. Like, okay, the Steelers paid this for Metcalf. That's their problem. They don't know what they're doing offensively. I would have no problem paying him in the 28 to 30 million. Put that, guys, put the graphic up again of what receivers are getting paid. So I would take Terry McLaurin. I would not take him over Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson. I don't think he's as dynamic as CeeDee Lamb, but I would pay him more than DK Metcalf, Garrett Wilson. So I look at this. I think he's in the Amon St. Brown class. I think
where it gets complicated is I was told this offseason with TJ Watt. I'm like, do you think that Steelers would trade him? They said even if they thought about it from a financial standpoint, he's the heartbeat and the leadership of the team. He's the team captain, not the quarterback, TJ Watt with the Steelers. That's kind of been McLaurin on the Commanders. Now, Adam Peters might say, well, Jaden Daniels rookie year, he's shifted now. He's the go-to guy. And typically, DK Metcalf, John Schneider, widely viewed as one of the best GMs in the league, did not want to give him a third contract. I know DK asked for a trade, but they're like, yeah, sure, see ya. Usually these older wide receivers, this is Terry McLaurin's third contract. And at the end of the day, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn, I'm sure they really like him. They didn't draft him. He's not their guy. So they're probably open to a lot of different ideas. It's a predicament. It's not to me, it's a tough situation, both sides. Get where Terry's coming from. And I can understand the Washington front office going, is this where we want to invest a lot of our rookie cap space because of Jaden's contract moving forward?
John, you're a former NFL scout. Andy Reid. When they brought in Deebo Samuel, I liked the move because I thought stylistically and for a young quarterback, he's a chess piece.
For sure.
And I think young quarterbacks, and Cliff Kingsbury will know how to use a chess piece. What I didn't think about was how it would land for Terry McLaurin, maybe. And McLaurin looked at it and thought, that's fine, but you do get I'm the number one. Like, he's the two, he's the chess piece. You don't have to use me as a chess piece. I can break guys down and get open. I run better, I'm healthier, I'm more productive.
Well, and that's the problem. The amount of money Deebo's making this year, it's the last year of his contract, and Terry McLaurin is set to make is basically the same. So these are human beings. Terry goes, wait, I scored 13 touchdowns here last year. This was your guy in San Francisco who peaked 3 years ago, and we're making the same money in any line of work. Money's all relative. It would tick that guy off. So I understand it was a bold move by Adam Peters. I understood it. I kind of liked it. I think you're getting a motivated Deebo Samuel. I do think that impacted Terry McLaurin when he just looked at, I'm not making the same as this guy this year.
Yeah. This is interesting to me because now we actually really have numbers here. We had been kind of tiptoeing around this, and I kept saying I haven't really heard anything truly reliable to be like, we don't know what the hang up is right now with Terry McLaurin and the Washington Commanders. We don't really have enough information to really get a true sense right now. But it's apparently he's essentially seeking DK Metcalf's contract, $33 million. But I wonder if that's still just on a a salary basis? Does he want the amount of guaranteed, the amount of years? Like, what exactly is he looking for in that regard? Because it's like, would he do a 70 million 2-year fully guaranteed contract? Like, I would actually be open to something like that more than long term, because the odds of that contract aging poorly, I just don't see it. And even if there are some hiccups along the way, and again, I know this is not typically how things are done, but sometimes you got to be a little bit more outside the box here. But I mean, like, it is tough, because when you can look at this from so many different ways when you're looking at these other guys, because you're like, what has DK Metcalf done for his team? You know, you're like, not much. What has CD Lamb brought his team? Not much. You know, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, they've been stat monsters, and we know just watching them that they're absolute beasts and animals. And you're like, what about AJ Brown? It's like, well, he was a huge piece and won a Super Bowl. What about Amon-Ra St. Brown? Well, that has been one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL over these last few years. And it's like, okay, what about Brandon Ayuk? What about Tyreek Hill? More of what he once was rather than what he is right now. What about T. Higgins? And you're like, well, he's also a beast with Jamar Chase, but a wide receiver too. So if you're looking at these other receivers, you're just like, okay, how does Terry McLaurin not fit in at least within this batch? Like, right, he has to be within this range between 30, and I'm not gonna say that he actually is deserving of 40 million, but that's obviously the range here, between 30 and 40 million. Because this is, for the most part, wide receiver one, 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 and having massive impact on your team, but to different degrees of helping get wins. And people have tried to argue before, well, Terry McLaurin, he was with the Commanders, and yeah, he had 1,000-yard seasons and stuff like that, but like, we weren't winning with him. And it's like, Jaden Daniels got there, now we're winning. And it's like, yeah, and who was Jaden Daniels' number one target? If Jaden Daniels is there, but Terry McLaurin isn't there, are you still a better team than you were without Jaden Daniels? Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you getting to the NFC Championship game without Terry McLaurin? You are not. Are you getting to the NFC Championship game if you do exactly what you had last year, but you replace Terry McLaurin with Debo? No, I do not believe that. So that is the power and the weight that a Terry McLaurin has in this moment of time. There seems to be a lot of argument of how much power, how much pull does a Terry McLaurin have? Well, he's still under contract. He can't sit out. He can't do this. He's got to play. And I always be like, guys, these are not robots. Like, this is human beings. This needs to actually be managed properly. Players have a lot more control and pull than we want to give them credit for. It's not like, oh, you signed the contract, you're under contract, you got to pay, you can't do that. It's like, that's not how it's ever worked. It's not how it's ever worked. And so there is real conversation to be had here. Here's the thing. It doesn't feel like the Commanders have any desire to give him a DK Metcalf, because isn't he like a 4-year, 5-year, like $150 million contract? Yeah, Metcalf's 5-year, $150 million, $60 million guaranteed, and all that money will be paid in the first 2 seasons of the contract. The new deal will carry $11 million cap hit in 24. Metcalf has a $30 million signing bonus and has guaranteed salaries $5 million and $25 million in 5 million in 25 and $25 million in 26. I can't imagine they're paying Terry McLaurin 5 years, $150 million. I think there's the belief that Terry McLaurin's a great wide receiver and that he will be great over these next couple of years. And that's it. Then he's going to start showing his age, etc., etc. Here's the thing. Here's where you could make the argument, though, that potentially giving him a contract like this isn't the worst. Because first off, the way how the guaranteed money is there, especially when it's front loaded, that does give you the ability to then move off it a lot easier and dealing with the repercussions of the contract during the years when you're expecting your wide receiver to be the best rather than more at the back end. So if we were to play this game where you're going to give him all this money up front, which is kind of what I said, not exactly $150 million and a 5-year contract, but this idea of like, if you're paying him $33 million, 3 years from now, if you're thinking in year 3, okay, Terry McLaurin is not the receiver that he was in 24 and 25, but there's real evidence, there's real reason to believe now that Terry McLaurin will then now become like the 10th, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that he would be not even a top 10 paid wide receiver. And if you front load a lot of this guaranteed money, and now you're in a position where you maybe need to move on, like you either can keep him and now he's either a great wide receiver too, albeit maybe a little bit overpaid, but not grossly overpaid, or because like I said, because of how the guaranteed money works, you can potentially work around the cap in a way where if you have to cut him or move on from him, it's just not as devastating. But honestly, all the different ways that you can influence the cap and guaranteed money is so complex, which is why they hire people as their essentially their full-time jobs, pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure that all out. And I always love how people like us try to figure it out at home. And it's just like, if it was that easy to just kind of move this across the books and figure it out, then we'd all have jobs making a lot more money. So I'm not going to pretend like there's necessarily an easy answer to this, but that's why I try to think of something a little bit more outside the box. And it's just like, I don't know, this is your time to really build the team around Jaden Daniels. And in a few years, when you're going to have to give him a ton of money, you're really going to have to rely on smart contracts and drafting and developing. So just pay what you pay while you can right now. And I mean, it's just you have to know, does Terry McLaurin would he be okay with a ton of money, a ton of guaranteed money, but a shorter contract? Because when you look at DK Metcalf's contract, like think about even like what I just said. His contract only has $60 million guaranteed. And all of that money will be paid in the first 2 seasons of the contract. So if that's the case, I wonder how realistic it is to come to a Terry McLaurin and say, we will give you $60 million guaranteed. Like, we will just give you these 2 years, $60 million guaranteed. And that's it. We're giving you what DK got. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen with Pittsburgh series. I mean, they got Russell, or they got Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback right now. Like, what do you think they're building over there right now? Like, look what we're building here. And we're going to have to pay Jaden Daniels a lot of money. You know that. You're not dumb. You're a smart guy. And so I just wonder if there's a little bit more room there. And what type of flexibility would that give the Commanders? Because he said he's seeking $33 million a year. And it's like, we'll give you $60 million, 2 years, fully guaranteed. You're guaranteed to get that money. Would he take that? I don't know. And it might be too far, outside the box, where they're just like, I'm not doing that. I want, because even if a longer term contract isn't fully guaranteed, you're not going to just cut me, or if you trade, like I still have clearly the ability to. It's not like that money. The other what would it be, $90 million? It's not like that other $90 million is just like somehow out of reach here, where DK Metcalf has like no reliable way of getting that. It's not like it's guaranteed or it's just absolutely nothing, and now there's just no chance of you getting that. It's obviously not that extreme and that binary, but it's this is what makes contracts so tricky to navigate, especially when you're factoring in that you're going to have to pay Jane Daniels so much money. It just gets messy, and this is just not the situation that you want to be in right now, honestly. Because that's the thing. If you needed to cut him, I'm looking at now DK Metcalf's contract. So if it was a similar contract, if you cut him, your dead money would be $12 million, for these final, if we're just looking at the final 2 years. If we say that those first 2 years, first 3 years are good enough to keep him, but now Terry McLaurin in year 4 of that contract, you're just like, no, we got to get out of here. The dead money would be $12 million and you save $22 million. Dead money would be $6 million and you save $35 million. So it's like, I don't know, man. That's what I said. This stuff is, everyone always pretends like they really understand how all of this works or what's the best way to go about it or what this actually means in practice. And I'm a firm believer that there's not even 32 people out there that do it. I mean, that's why only a handful of teams are the only ones that actually successfully do this. So I don't have any delusion that I'm going to be able to figure it out as to like, because it is always interesting to see to me where it's just like a team's like, we can pay you $33 million, but we can't pay you $35 million. And you're just like, well, it's just a difference of $2 million. And it's hard to know really what a team can do with that extra $2 million. It's just too hard to really know. So I typically don't really get too deep into contracts and what this officially, what a team should really look to do necessarily. But yeah, it's because I'm just looking at this now. It's a frustrating situation. If they foresaw this coming, they could have saved so much money because they could have locked up Terry McLaurin for a way more team-friendly deal if they said, Terry, we love you. We just drafted Jane Daniels. We're excited for this future. We want to secure you. We want to make sure that you're happy. All like if you just really believed in Jane Daniels and you knew that he was going to be great, you could have probably gotten Terry McLaurin, $30 million a year, less guaranteed money. I mean, granted, there would have been potentially for him to see a DK Metcalf contract for him to be like, whoa, I want to renegotiate, especially after this year. But like, you don't know. Like, this just got so messy. That's why I'm struggling with this right now, because this is just messy. I don't know how the Commanders find their way through this right now, because if this is what Terry McLaurin wants, then this is what he's been saying all this time, and clearly the Commanders don't want to give it to him. So what I'm struggling to try to figure out is, how do they figure out how to meet in the middle, and what does that mean? What does that actually look like in practice? And if the Commanders say, we just got to do it, does it actually hurt them? Because that's why I keep looking at those final 2 years, because I'm banking on Terry McLaurin still being great for at least these next 2 years. And if he now really starts to show his age in year 3, 4, 5, it's like when you're looking at the dead cap and all of that and the amount of guaranteed money that you've already put out, it's just like, is it actually that bad? Does it actually, because again, you see the number 5-year, $150 million. That's like, oh gosh, that can sound overwhelming. But that's why, with the magic of contracts and guaranteed money and prorating, all, just the way how you work the cap and all that, like, I don't know, it might not be as bad as first glance, which is why John Middlecoff's mentality is always like, all I do is care about guaranteed money. He's like, when I look at a contract, all I do is look at guaranteed money. That's the only thing that matters. Anything else we can talk about, but it's all about guaranteed money. Everything else can be worked around, which there's a lot of truth to that for sure, but it's also a lot more complicated than that as well. So I don't know. I wish I had better answers, honestly, but I really don't. I'm taking Terry McLaurin over a lot of these receivers on this list here, And if that's the case, then you got to pay the man what he's worth. And you're just like, all right. I mean, Tyreek Hill's getting paid $30 million, and it's like, in no world does Tyreek Hill deserve that money, and Terry McLaurin does. I don't care what Tyreek Hill has done in years past. Like, that means nothing to me. That means nothing to me. And no reason should Garrett Wilson get this money, but Terry McLaurin doesn't. In no world, and I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. In no world should Amon-Ra St. Brown get the money, but Terry McLaurin doesn't. In no world should Brandon Ayuk get the money, but Terry McLaurin doesn't. There's just in no world. In no world. The only true arguments you have are A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. They're the only ones that you could really make the argument that you're like, well, you should maybe not get as much as them. And I think that would be totally fair game. But this is what we're working with wide receivers. And so, I don't know. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Terry McLaurin seeking a DK Metcalf-like deal, $33 million per year? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.